We are joined today by Steve Anderson, the curator. We'll call you the curator because you're curating art. You're at ReRunThe80s, and we are big fans. And it's Charles and I were chatting about how we got to start talking about nostalgia with fellow nostalgia old heads. And I tell you, I'd like to thank you personally for the dopamine and serotonin rush that drips through my head when I'm on the phone looking at your stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, I remember Sit and Spin.
Right.
So
Yeah.
big props and shout out to you, and thank you so much for hanging with us today.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you having me on. It's honestly, like, with the as crazy as the world is, this is an escape for me too. Like,
Yeah.
the trips down memory lane are just as cathartic for me as they are for, I think, hopefully for everybody else. It's my little happy space every day is figuring out, hey, what memory am I going to post about or whatever. So I love it.
I find that too, by the way. It's like, as much as people might say, it does a lot for them, it also does a lot for me, just that little bit of dopamine hit of like, oh yeah, I remember going to Blockbuster on a Friday or whatever it is. It helps us as much as I think it helps everybody else. Are you surprised? I'm always wondering, because I'm always surprised when people like reach out to me and say certain things. Are you surprised, especially now with everything that's going on, at the level of just like people reaching out and saying thank you, or like just how hardcore people are about the things that you post? Is that
Yeah.
surprise you, or?
So not as much now, but when I first started, because I started this account when the pandemic hit. So this is like Marchish of 2020. I already worked from home anyway, and then I wasn't able to like go anywhere else ever
Yeah.
at that point. And so I remember I told my wife, I was like, I think I'm gonna start an Instagram account like for all my 80s stuff. And she's like, okay. And I was like, and so I started posting a few little things, and I remember when I got my first 100 followers, like, oh my gosh, 100 people are like care about this stuff. I mean, I was really surprised that like posting like a Knight Rider lunchbox that like even anybody cared, right?
Right.
And somebody's like, oh, I remember this. And so once I saw people cared, I was like, okay, well, I'll keep posting. So I think the first time I realized it was more than just me kind of messing around, those whenever like I posted, I can't remember what it was, as a toy or something, and somebody messaged me privately through DMs, and they were like, hey, this reminds me of me and my brother who passed away a few years ago. I really appreciate you posting this. It connects me to a time when he was still around. And man, like, I'm not a big crier, but at that point, I could feel my eyes like welling up just reading his message. And that's when I realized, like, this is actually bigger than just like going after likes or going after engagement or creating content. Like, this stuff means stuff to people. It's memories that they're connected to. So since I started getting a few messages like that, it was a little surprising at first, but that's kind of what's made me take it a little more seriously, because you're talking about people's happiness here,
Yeah. And it brings you back to a time and a place and to smells and to friends and people. And it's almost kind of like this weird wormhole of, I could remember the last time I played with that toy, who I
Yeah.
was with, what we used to have for lunch at their house, the Kool-Aid and the shape of the ice cubes, and you know what I mean? Like, literally it brings you to like just a trip down memory lane, as corny as that sounds. But
No,
it's
it's
that
not.
thing of like, yeah, oh my God, Dennis and I used to play with this when we would go over to Scott's house, and we would
Yeah.
do, and it's such an important thing. And I also think it's healthy for our brain power. And I think that as we're older and we're aging, all these new reports are coming out about how cognitive ability, due to our phones and whatnot, everyone's decreasing, adults, children. When you can look at something or watch something or read something and it brings you back, I think we're helping maybe fight Alzheimer's or something. I don't know.
think so.
I don't know. This is not
You go ahead,
medical
throw that
advice.
out there, Mike. Yeah,
This is
I
not
got you
medical
back.
advice, but maybe we're helping keep those. You hear stories about folks that, have lost memory and they hear music from their childhood.
Yep.
And it brings them back.
Yeah, we all just mentioned that we're musicians in our own right. That's something that's huge that I found. Like with the elderly, you'll see these documentaries or these news articles about how someone will be suffering from dementia, but if you put a musical instrument that they played their entire life in front of them, somebody at the piano. I saw one guy with like with drum pads and some sticks, and it kicks in,
Mhm.
like it comes right back to them, and it brings them back to a certain place. So yeah, it's powerful stuff.
We're like a digital, what was it, ginseng or ginkgo biloba or whatever, right?
Exactly.
So, how old are you?
Wow. So so you guys are asking the question, are we old? And so that's got me feeling even older because I'm probably older than both of you guys. I'm 47. I'll be 48 next month. So like I'm knocking on 50's door, which is a pretty scary thing.
Well, you look good, brother.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, Charles and I both compliment your hair.
That's starting to get going for me, but then I'm starting to get these like grays on the side, and I think I waited too
Oh,
late to start
embrace
dyeing
it.
it.
Embrace it. I didn't even get the chance to get grays, buddy. I'm 45. I'll be obviously, 46 this year, God
Yeah,
willing, and
42. I'll be
42.
43
So
in July.
we're all laps ahead of each other. And I tell Charles, I'm like, if you got any questions, you just let me know. I'll tell you how it is over here. But it's this creeping up on 50 thing. It's a 50 is a big weird number to look at and go, oh my God, I'm closer to that than 40.
yeah, it's wild. I remember my dad turning 50. I remember the kind of birthday card I gave him, and thinking like, man, my dad's almost dead. He's 50. You know what I mean? Like,
100%,
yeah,
dude.
like he's about. I mean, which he would always remind me like how I'm behaving and how I was gonna miss him one day, and he's actually right. But at the time, I was like, oh my gosh, my dad is just knocking on death's doorstep at any moment. But especially 50, I was like, he's halfway to 100. He's gone.
It's really it's crazy to think about, and it all went by so quick. But when you're in it, you're like, this is taking forever. I want to grow up, and then you're growing up, and you're like, I want to be a kid again. But I don't know if I want to be a kid again now.
Dude, I don't. After seeing like, so for instance, for my son to be with his friends, he has to be alone because because they all do Xbox and it's all online. So it's so weird that none of them really want to hang out together. To hang out, they've got to be separate. And I'm like, what a crazy paradox. Because
Hmm.
what I loved about video games when we were kids was you either met up in the arcade, which was a big, huge, just like social event, or you went to somebody's house and you played Nintendo together. It was like, and ordered pizzas, and it was just this big collaborative thing. And you're also like, one thing I noticed is these kids talk so much smack to each other because they're like all like in their own bedrooms, miles away from each other. You couldn't do that at the arcade. You could
No.
trash talk somebody, at the arcade, and they're going to punch you. You don't
Yeah,
have to worry about that now.
they'll do a finishing move on you in real life, right?
That's right.
Some of these,
Yeah, they're going to Mortal Kombat you in real life.
yeah, exact fatality. Some of these kids now, it's like even you're right. They're talking to their friends, but some of the kids they've never even met in real life. It's just like some kid, some voice in
In their headset.
yeah, some voice in their headset, and they're like, "You blah blah blah, mother blah blah." I'm like, you would never. But now, yeah, it's different now.
Well,
That's when I realized I got an Xbox 360 back in whenever they came out, and I was like, I'm gonna play online, and I started playing I think Halo.
Yeah.
And an 11-year-old just absolutely just dressed me down like verbally. He was killing me, and there's nothing I couldn't retaliate. And then I'm like, I can't cuss out an 11-year-old, can I? And my wife's like, you just need to quit. And so
yeah,
I
yeah,
knew I needed to get off, and I was like, hey, buddy, download Street Fighter 2 and let's see who's boss.
yeah. Meet me at the movie theater with a bag of quarters, and we'll see.
It's like,
You
"What's
know-
up, old man?" So I was like, all right,
Yeah.
let's leave the party.
There's something that's so. This is an "Am I Old" moment, big time. I was talking to my nephew, and his friends and them, they all play Fortnite and all that stuff, but they'll get together and like watch Twitch, and they'll watch other people play video games. Now, growing up, the worst part of playing video games was when it wasn't your turn.
Right.
Absolutely.
All I wanted my buddy to do was crash that car in Rad Racer so I could dive in and play. I wasn't rooting for anybody. I wanted to play. It
Yeah.
was so
Right.
hard. I would never a night out or a night with my friends would never be like, "Hey, let's go watch someone we don't know play a video game." Like that to me is just
Or like you had
so
quarter
foreign.
like on the machine to play next, and you were just waiting. Like you're like, hurry up! I've got
Yes.
my quarter on Galaga. I'm ready to go next. Yeah. One day my son was watching like I think it was like a reaction video of somebody else watching somebody's Twitch stream. I was like, how many layers deep are we into like laziness here? Like,
Yeah.
like I really don't get it. Like you're like 4 layers removed from this actual action.
I mean, I saw the writing on the wall when like opening packages videos started coming into play, and I was like,
Honest to
what is,
God, what a
yeah,
weird. I know.
unboxing toys, and I'm just like, what is happening? As a
Yeah.
kid, if you told me I had to sit and watch another kid open their toys, yeah, torture.
Yeah, that's
I
like
had-
kitty. It's like
I had an
cuckolding
existential
somehow.
crisis whenever I watched what was it, Evan Tube, I think maybe. There was a kid, he was the first one. I was like, here I am struggling so hard, and all I had to do was open toys in front of a camera. Like, where have I gone wrong in
Where
life?
have I gone wrong? Yeah. So when did you're a big collector. Now, when did that start? Is this your stuff from like did you know as a kid I got to hold on to this? This is something that's like going to be meaningful to me down the road. Were you like that like Nostradamus of it all or
No,
did you
I'm
end up
not. You'll find out the further this goes. I'm not smart at all. But so
welcome to the club?
Yeah.
it was a mixture of several different things, honestly. So my dad was a low key hoarder, first of all, and so he just saved a bunch of stuff. A lot of which was electronics because he had his own TV and appliance store here in our local little town in the 70s and through the early 80s. So, like I was super into like, TVs and VCRs, and my dad was really big about Betamax and how it was the superior technology. And we'd never have a VHS, which was terrible if you went to go rent movies, right? Because the Betamax section was like half a wall, and the whole rest of the store was VHS. And I'm like
You get looks from everybody like,
Yeah,
oh, there's that family.
I'm having to rent Where the Red Fern Grows, and my, friends are renting Rambo over there. But so we always had stuff around, and then that we saved over the years because of my dad. And he thought that everything had value, which it did, because back then electronics, you didn't just pitch them. Like you repaired stuff.
Right.
You took your TV to get fixed. You took your
Right.
to get fixed. Because it was like furniture, it probably weighed 400 pounds or more. And you were proud of it. But we also had an arcade. My dad owned a little small town arcade.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now I'm jealous.
Buddy.
So that opened in 81. And so I would have been 4 years old. And like I have very distinct memories of when they first wheeled in Donkey Kong for the
Oh
first
my gosh.
and me just like
Dude.
losing my mind over it. So this is a really big part of why I'm so fond of that period, because I was a little kid and I did all the little kid things with the toys and the cartoons. But by me being in this arcade, and I had an older brother and sister who were teenagers at this time, my mom says I was planned, but I think I might have been an accident. I think my dad might not have planned me, because my brother is 12 years older than me and my sister's 9 years older than me. But growing up in that arcade, there was always, Van Halen or Michael Jackson on the jukebox, and
Yes.
arcade game, all the arcade games. I mean, it wasn't a huge arcade. We probably had 20 games or something like that and some pool tables. But that like experience was just like a quintessential 80s thing.
Yes.
All my family members were alive at this point, and I just have such an attachment to like all of that stuff emotionally. And so that's kind of why I'm very nostalgic for that time period, because I had the kid experience and the kind of like teenager experience, and it was just
Yes.
kind of like enmeshed in 80s pop culture from head to toe at that point. And then the other thing that I think this is what made me start holding on to stuff, was I remember going to the toy store for the first time and there not being any Star Wars toys anymore. It's been like 85-ish, and I'm like, wait a minute, where are all the Star Wars toys? And then like, wait a minute, they're just gone? They can just stop making something and then not bring it back?
Right.
And I was like, and there's not a new movie out. We got a couple cartoons. So that I really started off by like collecting Star Wars stuff when I was a kid. And so that grew from like, oh, well, now I've got to hang on to all my toys. I got to hang on to my GI Joes because they're going to disappear one day. I got to hang
Yeah.
on to my, He-Man guys, like all that stuff. So that's kind of where it started. Like I started collecting, like as a kid, but it definitely like has mushroomed over the years. Now that you can find stuff in different ways too, through eBay, estate sales, thrift stores, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's the thing is like even back in the like, so I collect live music, but I was a collector of concert tapes, like live bootleg tapes, and I would have to go to conventions. You'd find out in the newspaper that a local convention was coming to like the Holiday Inn, and you'd go with your list of the tapes you were looking for, and you would scour through everybody's collection and buy the ones you wanted, cross them off your list, just like I did with baseball cards.
Oh yeah.
And, and when you got that card, or Garbage Pail Kids, you were like, okay, the collection's complete. But you had to wait. And you didn't have the eBay, and you didn't have the, Facebook Marketplace or Amazon or whatever, like where now you can find these things. I was just randomly searching like Goonies movie posters the other day, and you could get anything you want.
You can find it anywhere and everywhere. I still remember, like as a kid, I wanted the AT-AT, the Imperial Walker from Star Wars. This is this toy that I'd wanted since I was a kid. Never got it. I don't even know how this happened, but I would have been like, I don't know, 16. I'd just gotten my license. I met a random like 35-year-old dude in a parking lot at the local mall and bought an AT-AT from him out of his trunk.
Yes.
And I still don't even know how it came about. This would have been like 92 or 3, somewhere in there. And I'm like, how in the world did I even, and why did my mom not stop me from going to go meet a stranger like at a mall, and buying something out of his trunk? Like that's how hard it was back then to like try to come across something that you wanted. Now, like if I wanted to and I had limitless money, I could buy 35 AT-ATs before the end of the day.
It's yeah, it's
That's
really
crazy.
insane. We talk a lot about how sometimes the wanting is better than the getting, right?
It really is. Yeah.
When we were kids, we had to wait.
Everything.
Also, I peeped a quick cameo there of the red cup, and kudos to you, sir.
Yeah, that's
Kudos to you.
That's where it's from.
Pizza Hut.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course.
Yes. We need a personal pan pizza there and a
Of
book.
course. You said something interesting about basically you grew up in an arcade, essentially. Like for us as kids, we would go, periodically or on a Saturday or on a, special occasion, but you were basically lived there. Did it not, I mean, you have a different perspective of something like that. Did the funness ever wear off, or were you ever just like, ugh? Because you see in the behind the scenes stuff, like, did you and your siblings work at the arcade during the summers, or like, is there any other perspective that we're just like looking through rose-colored glasses of a life like that, or was it all as awesome as we think it was?
So I think that with a lot of that, there probably, with a lot of things, there probably is like you're only remembering the best. And for me, I was little, so I wasn't forced to work. Now my brother and sister were. They had to work the snack bar.
Yeah.
Oh, the snack
Some
bar.
photos. There's a little snack bar that where you could get little hot dogs or ices and that kind of getting little
Hoodsy
fireballs
cups and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So they probably won't have as fond of memories
Right.
as I will. But for me, man, like I was between and he gave it to my uncle or sold it to my uncle, whatever, in the later 80s, and then it started to kind of go downhill. RIP Uncle Alfred. But anyhow, it kind of didn't have the same vibe anymore.
Yeah.
But it was amazing for me as
Yeah.
at that age. Like for the main years that I was there, it was kind of like my de facto babysitter. Like I would have a pocket full of quarter. We had tokens, which I've actually. This is one of my favorite things from my collections. We still have
nice.
a token from
Wow.
it, which is pretty cool. No cash value. So I would have a pocket full of quarters or tokens, and I loved it, man. Like it was nothing.
Spend all
like
day.
Yeah, because I didn't. If a game went down, I had another one to choose from or whatever. But it was. The behind the scenes was probably my parents were probably stressed, from having to deal with all the things that could go on in an arcade.
Of course.
But for me, man, like it was nothing but the best
That's great.
as a youngster.
Did you have a favorite game when you look back? Was there like, I know you mentioned Donkey Kong earlier, but like, did you have like a that's my fave right there?
Mine was Galaga. I loved Galaga, and for whatever reason, that's one that I was good at. And I didn't really realize I was good at it until I don't know how old I was, maybe 6 or so. I was playing, and then I looked around and I noticed there was like a crowd of like people around me, like watching me play it. And it's probably not that I was that great, but just because I was like this little fella that could barely crawl up onto the stool, and play, and I was pretty good. But I played it all the time for free. So, but that was my favorite was Galaga. Donkey Kong was another favorite. But yeah, there was. I mean, back then there was just so many good ones. Pole Position, love Pole Position with the actual steering wheel and
Yeah. Wow.
stuff. So,
You sit
and the
in it.
little pedal. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved any game that had like the actual like hand wheel
Oh yeah.
that you could like centipede or anything like
Yep.
that. Actually, in our Pizza Hut, in our town's Pizza Hut, there was a sit down where you had 2 seats. It was like
Yep.
the table game where you
Yep.
could sit from either side and play.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man, that was my favorite.
I love that. Do you guys remember the game Off Road where you had the 3 steering wheels? And I remember you could just fling those steering wheels.
You
when
just
you were
spin it once and it would just
Yeah.
go. Yeah. Oh God, those were fun. We were wondering also too, like, since you're a musician, are you, as you mentioned the jukebox, my town pizza place, shout out and RIP Angelo's Pizza. We would go there right after my uncle's softball game. So my uncles were my like older brothers when I was growing up. My mom had me super young and they were in their teenage years. So I was like the bat boy for their softball team. And, we would go over to Angelo's afterwards and there was the jukebox and Van Halen's Jump and, like Paul Abdul, you name it. It was all in there, right? REO Speedwagon. So are you as nostalgic for music as you are, toys or, things that you collect? Like, are you listening back to that 80s music from your childhood?
Absolutely. Let me correct one thing. I'm a drummer, not a musician. All of my bandmates always remind me, you're a drummer, not a musician. So let me correct that
Buddy,
part.
I would kill to know how to play the drums.
Yeah, no, absolutely, definitely just as nostalgic for music. I mean, 'cause the music connects me to so many things. A lot of times I'll remember like, oh my God, that song by Sheila E. I so remember hearing that at the skating rink. Like sometimes like hearing a specific song will take me to a specific place, right? And I remember like, oh, I remember the first time I saw the video for that on MTV, like We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister. Like, oh man, like I remember like hearing the song takes me back to the first time I remember seeing that video. So yeah, I'm definitely just as nostalgic, and I guess this is a good thing, but my kids know 80s music just as well as they know anything else right now.
Oh, that's great.
Better or
Nice.
worse. Like I'm terrible with lyrics, and it is a little embarrassing though that my daughter will know the lyrics to 80 songs better than I do. Even though it's a song that I've listened to for 45 years, she'll know the lyrics better than me. So
I would give yourself some grace on that, because these kids, they're looking at their phones, listening to the music while like the lyrics is playing on the screen. It's a
Yeah.
whole thing they got going on.
You know what we did that they didn't do is we made up our own lyrics a lot. I think that was an our generation thing, when you like actually hear the real lyrics or read them and you go, no, this is wrong. It's not what he says. And you
There's
go,
still
I've been wrong my whole life.
yeah. Like Sweet Dreams Are Made of These. I thought it was these, not this. It's this. Sweet Dreams Are Made of This, but she sounds like she says these.
There we go.
I
didn't know
found
that.
out from a Wheel of Fortune puzzle like a few years ago.
And you're yelling at the TV going,
like,
no, you're
no,
wrong.
Right. And I looked it up. Oh, well, I've been wrong for 40 years.
There's a recent clip going around of Usher, and he's like singing one of his songs, but he's doing it a cappella, or either a cappella or the music is way down. And he goes, 7 o'clock on the dot in my drop top. Who's in the streets? And everybody's like, I'm sorry, what? Who's in the streets? Because we all heard cruising the streets for the past 30 years, and we are not unhearing what we heard.
You go, I am not stopping cruising.
Sorry, Usher. Fix your mouth.
What was your first concert, Steve?
So I was too young to go to concerts as a kid back then. So my first concerts are going to be was going to be something from the '90s. Um, so I grew up outside of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So it was probably a local band. We had a local band called Squirrel. And if it hadn't have been for some probably really bad habits, they probably would have made it pretty big because they were awesome. But so it's probably one of those local ones. My first like concert for a band. I'm trying to think. Some of the ones I remember, I went to go see. The biggest one I saw back then was probably U2 and Rage Against the Machine open for them. But I saw
Wow.
a bunch of
Nice.
other like I saw Collective Soul a bunch. I saw Pearl Jam a bunch. Pearl Jam might have been like actually my first like concert I went to that was like a pretty big concert. But also saw some stuff like Seven Mary 3 and the second tier 90s grunge bands or
When
whatever.
they would do like 20 bands for $5 at the local venue, and you go see like the one hit that they had, and those were fun. Those were fun.
I noticed so I noticed you're an extensive film collector. Shout out to the VHS back there. Are there any like TV shows or movies from back in the day that was like I guess what do you call it, like a hidden guilty pleasure or anything like that from the 80s?
Yeah. Yeah, let me think about it. So I'm going to answer that two ways. That there's some that were a guilty pleasure then and some that are kind of a guilty pleasure now.
Right.
So back then, my guilty pleasure as a kid probably would have been Three's Company because I wasn't supposed to watch it. Because I mean, back then it was so risque with all the the premise and the skimpy clothes and whatever.
Larry was like, if you're a kid, you're supposed to stay away from him.
Right. And so I would have to sneak and watch it. I would watch reruns on TBS back when everything came on the 05, like 7:05.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Atlanta Braves games would always start at 05.
Yeah, I did a deep dive because I'm a dumb nerd. I was like, why did they do it at 05? Like, why was everything 5 minutes delayed? And so there's no official answer for it, but what they think is it made TBS's listings stand out in the TV guide. So there'd be 7 and a bunch of stuff, and then all by itself, 7:05. And then also, if you started watching the thing at 7:05, you're 5 minutes into the next hour, you're probably not going to change the channel. I was like, that was actually pretty genius.
Yeah.
So
Turner. Smart man.
Right. So back then it would probably have been Three's Company. Now, my guilty pleasures where I'll say I'm watching something like, really, why are you watching that? I was like, because I like it. But it would be Golden Girls. I love the Golden Girls. I mean, just
Bro, we are one.
that's my comfort show. I've had a bad day. I'm like, I'm turning on Golden Girls. Any episode, it doesn't matter.
Bro, I did a whole video on how much I love the Golden Girls. I am a Golden Girls fanatic. It's a great show.
It was. I mean, you could watch any episode from any season, and it's even if it was like a serious episode, there's going to be some, comedy that ensues that you're going to laugh your head off at, and it's just great. So, Golden Girls is one, for sure, and then another one is Murder, She Wrote. Love Murder, She Wrote.
That's an interesting one right there. Now, you said Murder, She Wrote is a guilty pleasure today as a grown-up?
Yeah. It's something my dad watched a long time ago, so it is a little bit probably like me trying to like connect with my dad in one way. Yeah. But my wife just thinks I have a thing for old ladies, because
hey, Angela Lansbury is she's a spark plug for sure.
Mrs. Potts. Yeah, I remember like Murder. This is how big shows were back then because probably because there were less networks and all that kind of stuff. But like everyone knew Murder, She Wrote. Everyone knew Angela Lansbury, but I never watched one episode of Murder, She Wrote because it was just, to me as a kid, it was like this boring ass show. Get it out of here,
dude.
But it was so huge, I knew what it was. Like that's how big television shows were back then.
It felt like Old Lady A-Team.
It was,
and it's like because it was almost like filmed the same, and like I loved watching, and like when you think about guilty stuff, I would also think about the things I'd never admit to my friends that I watched, and I loved the show Wings.
Oh, me too.
Yeah,
I love that. It took place in a little Cape Cod airport, and like it seems so neat, and then you watch it now, and it's like, and Charles and I both work on TV, so it's like, oh, that's just a studio that is like not that great put together. You know what I mean? Like, but
Yeah.
at the time it was just so neat. Quantum Leap was another one that I
Oh, dude, I love
absolutely.
Of course.
Great
That's
show.
my like rainy day. Like I'll watch a Quantum Leap like marathon if I could find it.
I mean,
Yeah.
all those shows are just all those shows are great. My guilty pleasure, I would say, because Golden Girls, no guilt whatsoever.
No.
But probably next to Golden Girls, a little more guilt. Designing Women.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good show. What do you want from me? It's a good show.
Delta
No
Burke.
judgment. No
Delta
judgment.
Burke. Yeah.
Wow, Designing Women. We're seeing a trend here, Charles.
Listen, you used to say you might like old ladies. Maybe I like old ladies too. I like old ladies.
Here's
Do you
one
have
that
any-
I almost wasn't going to admit, but I will. Do you guys remember the show Small Wonder? I
Of
mean,
course.
it's really bad. It doesn't hold up. But
Yeah.
for some reason, I still will like to watch it.
There was always that thing in our family too of like, I'm lucky, very close with my grandparents, and I was, introduced to Odd Couple and Barney Miller and Taxi and like those shows at a very early age, and I always gravitated towards. And I'm the oldest of four, so I used to have to babysit a lot, and I'd watch Nick at Night. I'd watch Dobie Gillis, and I'd watch Mary Tyler Moore and the Dick Van Dyke Show and Patty Duke and like all those black and white sitcoms. And it was like really interesting to kind of see like Beaver, Leave It to Beaver.
Mr. Ed. Yeah.
Mr. Ed, dude. Yes.
Oh my God, Mr. Ed.
Mr. Ed. Oh,
I
and
watched all
Mr.
those.
Ed.
Well, what's funny is what an appreciation we had for those older shows, though. My kids, if only because I, used to force them like that they know what Family Ties is, or Who's the Boss, or Growing Pains, or The Jeffersons. That they end up loving the shows. Like we went on a Sanford and Son run like 3 years ago, and they ended up loving it. The first episode, I'm like having to force them, and then they're like, "Hey, can we watch another episode of Sanford and Son tonight?"
Dude, what a great show.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yes, but you can't listen to Red Fox albums until you're a little older.
Only this show.
The theme song to Sanford and Son is the greatest theme song, and there's no lyrics.
One of the best ever.
Yep.
I might be lying about this, but I think it's a Quincy Jones.
Yeah,
you're right.
Quincy
It is?
Jones
Okay,
is
yeah.
responsible for most of those tunes back in the day. Do you have any items in your collection that you would say are like your most coveted, your favorites, your like you got to save a few? Like what would they be?
All right, yeah. So I have a few things, and they're coveted for different reasons. One is I do have a Darth Vader on the little card from. This would have been like one of my first toys. Like in like 78, 9-ish, somewhere in there before The Empire Strikes Back. So this isn't from childhood, but this is one that I got later because I just remember seeing these things on the racks at whether it was KB or Toys R Us or Rose's, wherever. And so this is one that like I feel like I always have to keep.
Yeah.
Another
Shout out to KB Toys too.
That's
Shout
right.
out to Kenner.
This is my original He-Man. So
Yeah.
like this is the one that I actually played with.
Wow.
Real loose. He won't stand up because I played with him so much. So that
He's arthritic now, probably.
he can't stand. He's fallen and he can't get up. Let's see what else I have. This was the Swatch watch that I had whenever I was in elementary school. And so that's another like Time Warp favorite. Let's see what else. Trapper Keeper. Like when I got this,
Hell yeah, dude.
listen to the Velcro. Did you hear that?
That's some ASMR. Do one more time, please.
Here we go.
Oh.
So when I got this in 5th grade, and when I got that, it was
Could I see you inside? Would you mind? I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. Let's see I don't even know what's in here. There could be anything. Oh, all right. So here's a Mickey folder.
Nice.
Here is. This is what I forgot about this. So here's the Trapper Keeper folder that's in there.
Yeah.
And they, I had forgotten about this until the other day. They used to have these like little useful like tables or whatever.
Tables.
Yeah, little charts and whatever.
Dude, how big of a bummer was it when the support behind the 3-hole punch would rip?
Oh gosh.
And then you got like middle of the day, you've got like, your folders flying out of your trapper.
Yeah, it was.
God, it's like having like a broken shoelace. It was vicious.
When I got that in 5th grade, I was like, man, I am the coolest kid in the school. I've got my trapper keeper. I was wearing parachute pants. Mind you, they were husky-sized parachute pants, but I still had them.
Thick.
And so I was like, I'm unstoppable. It was so funny how like those kind of accessories like made you feel like you were on top of the world.
That's right.
When you'd lay them over your desk chair the night before, going, I can't wait to rock this.
Yeah.
Charles and I talked early on about how like the bus was like a fashion show. And when you
Right.
get on the bus, that was like first aisle, that was like a runway.
Yeah.
You'd have your
That's-
lunchbox and your JanSport, and you'd go, look at me.
Yeah. That's too funny.
Incredible. Which item, I know you kept a lot of items over the years. Is there an item that you wanted later on that was like super tough to find, to get your hands on?
So a couple things. One is, and I'm not sure what all's in frame, but so this TV here, can you see the television in the frame? All right.
Yeah.
So this is the exact model of television that I had in the 80s. Of course, we didn't keep it, but I had like an alert on eBay set for a long time. Like when this TV pops up, the Hitachi 13 something or other, I had the model number like put in, and so finally it popped up one day, and I was like, "Holy crap! This is my TV!" Like I instantaneously connected with it because I mean, this was what I played my Nintendo games on. This is what I watched Murder She Wrote on. This is all my Saturday morning cartoons, and so
That Brady Bunch, sure.
yeah, all that stuff. So as soon as I saw that TV, I was like, I didn't even like look at the list price, and it ended up not being bad. I think it was like $150 plus like $100 shipping because it's so heavy. But I was like, gotta have it, and I was just like, please let it work. And so it worked flawlessly. This is like the crown jewel of my collection. It's not worth the most or anything, but it's just I have so many memories like wrapped up in that.
Of course.
And it was just hard to find, like, and you can't really find that model on there. There's some similar ones, but finding that model available somewhere for whatever reason is pretty difficult. The other thing that was really hard, and this is super random, but maybe you guys can understand. So back in the day, birthday parties weren't like this crazy themed out affair, right?
Right.
And so whatever you did for your birthday just felt special. And now, like, if kids did this today, they think it was the cheapest thing ever. But I had a birthday party at McDonald's, and I mean, I was the most popular kid that day. When everybody knew,
Of
like,
course.
Hell yeah, dude.
and so I had a couple random photos from it. And one of the photos showed this little game where you would throw a like this Velcro ball at Ronald McDonald holding a target.
Yeah.
And it felt like a fever dream until I found that photo. I was like, no, that's the toy. I remember it. And so I searched for forever, like to even find out like what the thing was called, because nothing was popping up. And then finally last year, I found it. It's this random
Darts, dude.
Yo.
Oh my God.
And so when I found that, I was like, you know, if my house is burning down, it's one of the things I'm running in to grab real fast because it's such a
McDarts.
connection to a time period. Like I have a photo of me with this in the background. I have my little Luke Skywalker Empire Strikes Back figure that I brought. Is on the table in front of me at McDonald's. And so it's just like a really cool memory. So I don't know. It was probably like
Buddy, let me
$20.
tell you, I remember when the red felt the Velcro on the ball started to peel off,
Yep,
and it was
yep.
like my dog had a limp. I was like, call the ambulance. We got to get this fixed, because if I lost that, I had one of those again on the back of my door.
Bro, really,
God, I
that's
love
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
And
So
you
it's-
said something you said something interesting too about like you know, kids today, if you had a McDonald's birthday party. Yeah, that's true, they would feel that way, but also McDonald's in of itself doesn't lend itself as a fun place to have a birthday party anymore.
Not
like
at
it did.
all.
It doesn't
Sad.
even look like it looked like all the fast food places also grew up like and just became elderly like
Free
versions of
Wi-Fi
themselves.
establishments.
gave
Yeah.
up on life. It is a shell of its former existence. Like as soon as you walk into McDonald's, like you just want to get out as quickly as possible. You don't
Yeah.
want to hang out in there.
No, now it's like a scared straight. Like you bring kids there to be like, don't turn into these people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's so like clinical yet not clean.
Yeah.
It's an it's a oxymoron. It's like it feels sterile, but it's definitely not sterile.
Definitely not.
Not at
Yeah.
all. You know, I'm on the road quite a bit, and there are times where like you just have to eat at a McDonald's, you know, and it's No, two things. Number one, it's like I remember how psyched I was to go to McDonald's if I had a good little league game.
Oh,
Now I'm like, oh, do I wait another 30 miles to see if maybe there's something else? But you go in now and you order on a big screen. You don't talk to anybody. There's no like fun to it. I remember seeing a McDonald's without a play place being like, what's wrong with that McDonald's? Why don't they have a ball pit? Why don't they have a slide?
yeah.
Or those hard, springy
The little
grimaces?
jail. Yeah, why am I
Yeah,
not?
the jail. I want to
Yeah.
connect to the Hamburglar.
Yeah.
Nothing. I
No.
know. Things aren't. That's why we do what we do, though, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
my son loves McDonald's, unfortunately. Like he likes now he's gone from the Happy Meal to the 10-piece chicken McNuggets, which I used to be like, yeah, we'll get McDonald's, it's cheap. And then, I'm getting him a 10-piece chicken McNuggets, fries, and a Coke, and it's like $11. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, man, for $11, I feel like we should be at least get Zaxby's or something for that price.
Something.
But I'm like, buddy, you would have loved McDonald's so much better like 30 to 40 years ago. Like
Yeah.
it was fun. I feel like everything went from being fun to like, oh, we gotta make it transactional. You gotta make it quick, sell more Happy Meals, sell more chicken nuggets, however you gotta do it.
Yeah.
I wish it went back to like enjoying whatever the thing was. Slow down,
Yeah.
enjoy it. It's just not enjoyable.
So that's actually something I'd like to ask you about is, because we're at this age now where if someone was to ask advice on how do you enjoy life, right? Like we're looking back on things, like we are in a little niche that we like to look back and enjoy things that made us happy then and now. You said just like take a break, enjoy, relax. Like, is there advice that you'd give like your son or yourself if you were, to look back to those times?
That's tough because even today, as much as I want to enjoy things like the pace of life and what's required and everything we have to do, like it's really difficult to disengage and truly enjoy something. Like even myself, like back then, if you watched a television show, you just watched the show. That was the thing, and it was enjoyment enough. And now, how many times am I also like playing Wordle like while I'm doing this or whatever? And I'm just like, I'm trying to get better about it. I'm like, just put it down, man. Like you used to just enjoy watching the thing for what it was. And I think that's why I'm getting dumber quicker is because I'm always multitasking.
Yeah.
And I think back then we just did one thing at a time, whatever it was. And we enjoyed whatever the thing was, and we allowed ourselves to be bored. Right? Like that
Yes.
was
Yeah.
the mother of invention. I would be bored, and then I go, all right, let me go outside and see what I can do. I find a friend, or I throw a tennis ball on the roof and let it bounce down to me and invent a weird game. If I catch it on the first bounce, that's an out. If I catch it on the second bounce, he makes it to first base. Like some dumb little game.
Exactly.
But, like, it still like made you be creative. And I feel like kids today, like there's no opportunity for boredom. There's like even if you're in the car. Like I used to be bored in the car because I was listening to my parents' music and they loved elevator music. Or, and you just looked out the window. And now it's like there was no opportunity for boredom.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the advice would be. It's tough because I would definitely need to hear it myself.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
difficult to disengage, I guess.
I remember I can literally like remember tracing the crack in the asphalt outside of my grandparents' driveway. Like I
Yeah.
knew I would just stand, like people must have looked out their window and been like, is that kid all right? Because if I had nothing to do or my friends were whatever, I would just walk the driveway out to the street and follow the crack. And it was like I made it into like this world
Yeah.
where like the ants had to like cross this chasm and like all this wild stuff. And then someone goes, you want to play football? And you're like, yep. Then you forget about that, but you came back to it.
And isn't it crazy that something that mundane is a memory 30, 40 years later? Like
Yeah.
something as mundane as tracing a crack is a memory you have today. And that's wild to me to think about. I mean, it's hard for me to remember what happened 5 days ago at all.
Right.
No, 100%. Yeah. I mean,
I think that's cool though. I think because you get bored and you do something, whatever, it means more to you. It's just because you were focusing on something instead of always multitasking.
yeah. Charles and I are huge fans of talking snacks. And I want to ask you, when you were sitting in front of that Hitachi as a kid, okay, your favorite show's on, your mom's like, favorite snack, come get it, what would it be?
Oh man, that's
And
tough.
drink. You got to get both because you don't want to have to get up before the commercial.
So I'll start with a drink, and it would be basically any kind of a soda as long as it was in like a glass bottle, and then also had like the little peelable styrofoam labels.
Yes.
So I loved soda, or I loved here's a Gatorade.
There we go.
Gatorade in the glass bottle.
Gatorade. Oh,
Um,
ice cold.
Yeah. So if I had that, my favorite soda was probably but once Cherry Coke came out in '85, that became my favorite soda for a long time. I was like, oh my god, Cherry Coke is the greatest thing ever. That, and I love Mountain Dew. I was a big Mountain Dew fan for whatever reason. Like I just loved it.
I love Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper was my fave.
My dad was a big Dr. Pepper fan. For snacks, one that they don't make anymore was Pringles Cheezums. I was a huge Cheezums fan, and I wish they'd bring them back. They still have like cheese flavored. It's not the same.
Not the same.
They were their own thing.
Before you put that down, what was your style of eating them?
So I would pop the lid, right, and then I would grab like a stack. Like that.
Yeah, dude, a
Depending
pinch.
What mood I was in, sometimes I would just go like bite all of them and get crumbs everywhere. I mean, that was usually what I would do. I don't know why, just because it was more fun to do it that way. Sometimes I put it in like exactly on the shape of my tongue, and then just like squash it like like compacting a car.
Yeah. When I'd watch kids eat one Pringle at a time, I'm like, they were raised right, and I'm a monster because I would try to eat half a stack.
Oh, I was also raised as a monster then, because that's what I would do. Another one, this is from the early 90s, and I don't have a package for it. I've looked for one forever, is I loved pizzerias.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember them. They were like this pizza chip, and oh my gosh, they were amazing. Like, I would inhale an entire bag, like, during, like, one episode of Knight Rider. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, what happened to all the pizzerias?
I remember, my mom used to buy those. Yeah.
Keebler made them. They're Keebler chips.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of Keebler.
There's certain things that like went away where it was just like, why did they go away? Like we actually liked them. Why? What was the reason?
I don't know, because remember Keebler had a run of chips at that time. They also had Oboises. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I remember Oboises.
Boisterous. They had that, and then they had Tater Skins.
Tater Skins were great. I was a big fan of potato sticks that came in the can. Like they were very salty, and they were easy to like. You could kind of drink them.
Yeah,
that's.
I remember those.
Yeah,
man.
Wow, that's awesome. Those are. How old is that Gatorade bottle?
So the bottle itself is from '83. And this is whenever Fruit Punch. You can see it says new Fruit Punch flavor. So that's whenever Fruit Punch first came out. Which was a game changer for me, because anytime I was sick, my dad made me drink Gatorade, and I was so sick of like the like little lemon lime flavor and the orange. I think those are the only two. And so I was, whenever Fruit Punch came out, I was like, oh, thank God, another flavor. And so this is from '83. This is back whenever Stokely still owned it, actually. So
wow,
yeah,
that's incredible. Man. I wonder what that tastes like if you were to pop it open. That's so
I'm
weird.
Not gonna risk it.
No, I know.
I've opened a pack of old like Garbage Pail Kids before, and finally got tempted enough to try the gum. 100% do not recommend it. It turns into dust in your mouth, and is just it is awful. It's tasteless in a way that like it's like it pulls any kind of flavor you had in your mouth out of it.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes this dust amalgam in your mouth or something.
Oh my God. Yeah, that gum was bad then.
It was bad then. It's much worse 35 years later, I promise.
Wow.
Does not get better with time.
No. This isn't a snack, but I will say I'll show one other thing related to Gatorade and snacks. This was one of my favorite gums back then was Gator gum.
Oh, Gator gum.
I played Little League, I'd chew this, and I'm like, I'm going to be unstoppable.
That would hit you. You'd get that stinger in the back of your jaw. It was so potent. That lemon lime flavor when you bit it, you get 2 or 3 chews in, and you'd get like I don't know what it is back here, but
I
boy, it's like
remember
a
that.
fun nerve.
Yep. I tried to describe it to somebody. I was like, it was almost like if you took a 9-volt battery onto your tongue and it had a lemon lime taste to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Yes. You know, Dick's Sporting Goods sells Quench gum, which I felt was kind of like a knockoff of Gator gum.
Yeah.
And I get it every now and then when I'm like,
Does it taste like it?
no,
Oh.
it does a little. I mean, it does a little. It gives you that weird sour burn back here,
Right.
but it comes in like almost like a double bubble shape. So it's bigger and individually wrapped.
Gotcha.
Gator gum will always be my favorite though.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was good.
Gator gum is great. Listen, we know we only got you for a limited amount of time. There's one another question real quick. Your page obviously is super popular and people love it. Is there anything in particular that you notice that when you post this particular type of thing, it gets like the most reaction or love? Like,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it is like the stuff that was that you forgot about. Like, there's a lot of pages, and there's nothing wrong with, but it's the things you know. Who remembers? I don't know, Van Halen. Like, yeah, we all remember Van Halen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's very top level stuff. Still good to remember that stuff, but a lot of times I'll find that whenever I remind somebody of something that they haven't seen in forever, but it was still kind of burned into your memory as a child. So a lot of that is stuff that I'll call like 80s trash, because it's stuff that we would have absolutely discarded. Like, these aren't items that people would have saved for any reason unless you're crazy.
Yeah.
But like, so whenever I'll post, like, for instance, try to Berry Crunch, which is like one of my favorite cereals ever.
Yes.
To bring it back.
The Smurf sign inside. What's the back say?
Yeah, so, and actually, I brought that too. So come like with a little license plate for your BMX bike, right?
Keep on smurfing, dude.
Here's this one. Honk if you like Smurfs. So, and that was, a lot of the times you got the cereal because of the prize inside. But
of course.
Oh my God, yeah.
This is a double. You just tasted delicious. Turned your poo a strange color. But back then, so they actually. Fun fact, they had to ditch that cereal and switch it to Smurf Magic Berries, which did not turn your poo a color. So that
I feel like Smurf Berry Crunch was like the grandfather of Berry Kicks.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple other little cereal boxes. Like, I love ET cereal. It's probably one of my favorite flavors. And then this one wasn't so much because of what it was, but it was because of who was on it. But Mr. T cereal,
Of course.
and Pee-wee, he makes a nice appearance in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. With
Of course.
And that came with some stickers too. So whenever I post that kind of stuff, because it kind of connects you to a memory, and these aren't things that are like on the shelves all the time. We talked about McDonald's, so one other thing that people remember. Is whenever they had styrofoam containers.
Yeah.
Yes,
buddy.
of course.
Yes.
Here's the
Kept the bread from getting soggy.
The hot stays hot, the cool stays cool.
Yes.
So when I post things like that, or even just like what Taco Bell used to look like back in the day.
Yep.
So a lot of times that kind of gets a lot of people, nostalgic, because they'll remember, what a place used to be like whenever they loved it the most or whatever.
Yeah.
So those are probably some of the things that get people nostalgic a good bit.
Well, please keep it up, man. Please keep it up. And I mean, we could have talked for another, year.
What's unfortunate is I would keep talking. I would.
Let's do it again. I mean, we'd love to have you back sometime if you'd be interested.
Absolutely.
One quick. Can I get one quick one?
Yep.
Mount Rushmore movies.
Oof, that's tough. So my question about this is this just like my 4 favorite, or does this need to be like 4 that are like iconic and something from that movie needs to be carved into a mountain? You know what I mean? Like,
whoa.
Ooh.
I mean, at first I would say your favorite, but I like that second one.
All right. Well, I'm going to do a hybrid of that. So, because I'm trying to think what could be carved into the mountain too. One of my all-time favorite 80s movie, and this is on Betamax, by the way, is
we just did a piece on that.
Yeah,
the greatest.
I
Yes.
could watch this every day for the rest of my life and never get tired of it.
Agreed.
It's just got great soundtrack, great
Yep.
premise. I mean, I think even film schools study that as like one of the best, screenplays and scripts ever. I just love that movie.
I love Doc Brown so much.
Yeah, it's just every character in there is awesome.
It's great.
Another one for me would be the Goonies. Goonies,
My man, that's my all-time #1 favorite movie ever.
Yeah, it's definitely, and I mean, it's there's a day where I could be like, you know what, I'm going to watch Goonies over Back to the Future today because I'm feeling it.
Me too.
But
Me too.
it is just to me, it's another one of those perfect movies. You could watch it over and over. You could start it at any point in the movie and be as equally entertained, whether you started from the beginning or the last scene or somewhere in the middle.
There have been a couple days in my adult years where like one of those channels that just plays it, like they'll play a movie twice in a row.
Right.
And you don't know if it's like a blip or a mistake or something, but I've watched Goonies and it started right over again. And I'm like, I'm in.
Why not?
I am in. That's it. I'm going to pee, get some chips, and I'm back.
Yeah. Another one for me would be the best Star Wars movie ever would be The Empire Strikes Back. I think it'd be hard to leave this one out just because it's so iconic. And I was so attached to Star Wars back then. And so Empire Strikes Back would be the next one. And now this is where I'm torn between which one of these is more iconic and which one of these is just the movie that I watch over and over and over and over again. And this is when one of these could actually almost be a guilty pleasure. So I'll just go with the one that's more iconic that I do love, which would be E.T. I remember seeing this in the theater as a kid in 1982, and it was like the whole the theater atmosphere was electric. Like I don't even know how to describe it. Our theater only had one screen.
What's a theater?
So this place where everybody sat together in one spot and watched the same thing.
What? Wow. Quietly?
Yeah, quietly. Well, mostly. Sounds of the straws you would hear. But the one that I think I'd have to put up there for me, because my wife will say I watch this movie way, way, way too much, is The Karate Kid. This is,
you watch that as you age and you're kind of like, Danny was a little bit of a jerk. Yeah, he shows up.
Now, people would be like, justice for Johnny. I'm like, oh, quit it. And then I will go back and I'm like, he was a bit of a provocateur right here.
Which is why I got to tell you, and I'm not a huge fan of like reboots, and it's not a reboot, but I love Cobra Kai.
I enjoyed
Cobra Kai is great.
I love Cobra Kai. And I think that the fact that like, there's amends happening and there's the next generation, like they did it right. They're not taking themselves too seriously, but it's just great to see, Danny and Johnny as adults and all the cameos that are happening.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's so cool.
A lot of fun.
You could probably have an entire episode about reboots from our childhood and how most of them have been garbage. But with this, I was like, man, they actually got it right. They got the right amount of cheesiness, the right amount of fun, the right amount of plot. The
right amount of humility and like the shifting of characters from one to the other, and like just how John Kreese is just like, what a terrible dude all around, and in the timing that we're in, it's kind of perfect.
I think from now on, any reboot has to be started with a fan reboot first, because that's where the best ones go. It's like, let the fans do it, and then let everybody get around it, and then take it from that. But when like it starts with the studio, it's doomed.
Well, like Steve, what do you think about this? Like, there's a lot of talk about a Goonies reboot, right? They're saying Goonies 2 is in the works, and I'm like, no, leave that alone.
It's tough, man, because like I used to get excited when I'd hear like, oh, there's gonna be more light shed on this, and there's gonna be more like Goonies stuff coming out, and maybe this is gonna be great. But after getting my hopes up so many times and seeing like what happens to something that was a really cool franchise, and then they take a big dump on it and try to monetize it. I think that's one thing I try to be careful about is like, I don't want to monetize somebody's like memories. You know what I mean? I'll connect with it, but don't just create content for the sake of content. And I feel like, the studios where they're messing up is their end goal first is let's make money with it, as
Mhm.
opposed to let's
Yeah.
make something people are gonna.
I mean, I look at that original cast, and I'm just like, are you gonna I mean, Josh Cohen, I mean, he's a lawyer now. He doesn't act. Corey Feldman, I mean, I don't know. He's playing guitar, opening up for Limp Bizkit and doing things.
Right,
And,
yeah.
you know, I mean,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how. I don't think you'll ever be able to capture that magic, and I think that's
No.
okay. I think that that's one thing that studios need to understand. Sometimes you catch, lightning in a bottle. You catch something that's magical. Let that be the magical thing.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Come up with
Yeah.
a new idea.
There we go. How about that?
I'm okay
Whoa, what?
with letting that thing be the awesome thing that it was, because oftentimes when you go back and recreate anything, that's what's so funny. I'll say, I know you guys probably want to kick me out by now,
No.
but I'll say that's one thing that we think about, like, oh, it was so much better then, like Coke tasted so much better then, or whatever. Or I think a lot of it's about the experience of it. Like, I'll remember drinking my cherry Coke, and I was like, I remember having it in Disney World for the first time with my family. Right. So, or like, even with all these items I have, it's really not about the item. It's about what it connects you to. And so anytime you try to recreate it, like, oh man, I'm going to make cinnamon toast just like my mom used to make, I'm just like, this sucks. This isn't as good.
It's the love that went into spreading the butter, dude.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, back then it was parquet, and that's, probably why I was.
I can't believe it's not butter. Right. Exactly.
Husky jeans. But, so I think that, anytime you retread anything, like, it's just never going to be the same. So
Yeah.
I feel like if there's a story to be told, that you can connect to that, great. Like, if there's a way to add on to this and it's meaningful and there's a story to be told with it, that's fine. But if you're just trying to monetize,
It shows.
Gen Xers and millennials, like, whenever it's inauthentic, people don't know why they know it, but they know it. They see it immediately, and they're like, "Why aren't people liking this?" It's because it was an inauthentic attempt at just to take money out of my pocket, and I've given it a lot of times. I'll go do it,
Yep.
and then every time I regret it, and I'm like, "That was not good." I wanted it to be good so bad, and it just wasn't.
Yeah.
So I
Fool
just,
me once.
yeah.
Well, you're the real deal, man. And we love your content, and so happy that you were able to hang with us today.
Yeah.
For those watching and listening that haven't somehow seen your page, can you let everybody know where they can find you?
Yeah, I'm at ReRunThe80s, mostly on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook for people, older people, and then I'm kind of on TikTok for the younger people, but kind of gave up on TikTok for a little while. Thought it was disappearing, then it came back or didn't go away. I don't know. But
Right.
find me mostly on Instagram. That's where I hang out the most. That's where I try to connect with people the most. So ReRunThe80s. Just type it in anywhere. You'll probably be able to find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, man. I'm really, I'm grateful that you took the time out, and I'm glad to put a face with the page now. And
I'm used to being behind the camera, not in front of.
I know.
Yeah,
Thank you for that. Yeah,
Thank you.
We're asking Oz to come out
I
from
know,
behind
right?
the curtain here, but it means a lot. So thank you.
It means a lot that you guys care, and I love what you guys are doing. It's so much fun. I just started listening to the podcast day before yesterday, man. And it's been so much fun going through it. I'm really enjoying it. So you got a new follower and subscriber. So
Thank you, my man. That means a lot.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening at Are We Old on the socials, and patreon.com/Are We Old Pod. Thank you, everybody.
Stay young.